This morning, we're going to begin a series that's going to go just 3 weeks. We're going to spend some time looking at stories from another world. Stories that we're going to consider the birth of the storyteller. And we're also each time going to look at a story that he told. And that's what we'll be doing for the next 3 weeks. So if you're visiting, come for 3 weeks. If you like this one, come back. It'll be great. I just bragged to myself. Let's move on. Let me begin, though, by asking you this question. What is it that's most important to you? At the center of our hearts is a set of values, things that we believe to be really, really important. Those things are shaped by the people that surround us. Because what a group of people tends to think is important, well, we want to fit in with a group. You know, and we want to be part of that, and so what is part of our culture's values tends to become part of our values. Let's take just a second and think about America's value system and what it is that's really important. Can we see that? I really hope this works. America's value system on display. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Me and mine. I gotta get, and in fact, watch this. It's gonna slow down and watch. Here we go. Give me that! Wow. Do I need to tell you that that's Black Friday? That's Black Friday. That's the value system that surrounds us, and not just in that one place, and not just that one thing, not just Black Friday. I think Black Friday is typical of how Americans kind of approach Christmas. How Americans what is going on there? What's that woman do? She's looking for a good deal. And we value being thrifty in America, right? And she's looking out for hers. She wants to give that to somebody. And who can blame her for trying to be good and kind? Maybe that kid. How do you change that? Because, folks, that we swim in a toxic soup. We have a value system that surrounds us that is not valued in heaven. The things that are precious here are refuse there. And to be honest with you, the things that there are honored and held up as beautiful and good, we really don't want anything to do with them. How do I change? Because I want what I don't want. I mean, if I'm honest, I have to admit that woman, I would never do that. But I understand why she does. Because I understand the value system that would drive you to that kind of broken behavior. And to a more dignified way, does it not have hold of us? How are we going to change our hearts to get away from selfishness? Well, if you want to alter a value system, you do it by telling stories. That's how cultures are built. That's how you build a way of thinking. Think about America. What is a big cultural story in America, and what value does it cast? Well, you grew up hearing about the time when, we were too taxed by England and we had no representation in England. So what do? Naturally, we dressed up as Native Americans and we threw a bunch of tea into some water. You know that story, right? The Boston Tea Party? You know that founding of America kind of story. And that story, what does it cast into the people? Well, a sense of liberty. You cannot oppress me. I will not sit back and let you oppress me. I will do something if I feel oppressed. It's America. How did it get there? The story. I mean, first you have the events, but those events took on a whole life of their own, and they have been casting a story into our children ever since. Thanksgiving, what do? We tell the story of the founding of America and the Pilgrims and sharing food with the Indians who helped us get through a hard winter, and it settles this generosity into us. If you want to cast a value system, you tell stories. If you want to alter a value system, you also tell stories. And you tell stories that challenge the old set of values and then offer a new set of values, and that's why we tell this story. And we tell this story over and over and over again. Like children at night, we never grow tired of it. I cannot tell you how many times I read Hop on Pop. You know, I read The Grinch Who Stole Christmas again and again. Actually, I don't know that we own that one. But I read The Sneetches, you know, with the stars on theirs, over and over and over again until I had it memorized. And did my kids ever grow weary of it? No. Why? Because it's great to hear the story. Tell me the story. We come every year and we want to hear this story. And I'll tell you the reason we want to hear this story is because it changes us. It's a transformative story. It's going to challenge the value system that we hold as fallen human beings. And it's going to offer us heaven's value system. It comes and story jumps right past our arguments. Of course I have to take care of myself. I have to seek my own good. I have to do that. That's my value system. And if you argue with me about it, it sounds like you're threatening me and my kids. But if you tell me a story where that value system is replaced by self-giving love, and you settle that story just right past my argumentative nature and right into my heart, that's why we tell the story. The values of heaven are not the same as the values of earth. And that which is important here is refuse there, and vice versa. Selfishness is absolute garbage in heaven. And self-giving love, giving away me and mine, that's the way of heaven. Well, the central value of earth is self-interest. Has been since the garden. When we ate the knowledge of good and evil, when we ate that fruit, we say, well, I got to go get my good. I have to run from my evil. And that's how human beings have functioned ever since. Seeking their own good. And if it costs you something, I don't care. I will take the present from the child because I need my good. And I don't care if in the third world they suffer. As long as I got good food. That's the nature of the world we live in. The central value of heaven is self-giving love. It's how God's always been. It's how He'll always be. Father and Son and Spirit live in a constant dance of lifting one another up, caring for each other, and laying down themselves for one another, glorifying each other and building up one another's honor. They give and they give and they give. It's who they are, and we are alien to that. How do I change this to this? Because I can't just argue myself out of it. You know, this is deeper than my awareness is. My values are so deep down inside of me that to change them is beyond just self-will. I need therapy. I need work from someone else. What I need is for someone to come and tell me a story. But if we're going to change from that to that, we ought to expect the stories to be strange. And brother, they are. The stories that come from heaven are weird stories because they don't resonate with our value system. And yet in them we hear a truth that we know is more true than any truth that we tell ourselves in America or any other country in the world. We know that this is a greater reality, something more beautiful and wonderful. And so this morning, let's look just a little bit we're going to look at two stories, but we'll take just a little bit of a look at this one. You familiar with this one? Before the storyteller was even born, Mary came to her aunt and her cousin Elizabeth. Sorry, forget that. Ignore that. And she who was barren is expecting. When she walks up, the babe in Elizabeth's womb leaps for joy, and she says, why am I getting this honor that the mother of my Lord should come to me? Because the baby leapt for joy in my womb. And then Mary bursts into song. It's that wonderful song that you just heard read, that Tim read so well. This wonderful, beautiful song about my soul magnifies God. And look at all the great things that He's done. Until the end, where it gets a little bit weird, doesn't it? Did you see it? Did you hear it when it was read? Here, let's look at it. He has shown strength with His arm. Awesome, great, strength. We need that. Help me out. He has scattered the proud of thought in their hearts. And that might be me. I don't know that I like that as much. He has brought down the mighty from their thrones and humbled those of humble estate. Well, if I'm of humble estate, that's pretty cool. I want that. Is that where I am? Where do I put myself in that? I'm a pretty wealthy man. I mean, globally, I am unbelievably rich. And so are you. Globally, historically, where would I find myself? Probably more in the thrones than in the humbled. Because humbled, we're not talking about a character thing. We're talking about way of life. Humbled because I'm humiliated. I don't have power or control of my life. I eat if someone feeds me, but I don't have my own goods. I'm brought low in this world. And God is lifting them up and bringing me. What? He's filled the hungry with good things. Yay! I'm hungry all the time. Look at me, I'm a fat man. You know, that's good news, isn't it? And He has sent the rich away empty? What on earth is going on? That is weird. Is that the picture of the gospel you want? Do you want a gospel where things are flipped around like this? Especially, is this the gospel you want if you're in those first two, the latter groups? Where you're on the throne or you're rich? Remember the woman who's singing this? If things had gone as the world ought to have gone, she would have been a queen. If exile had not happened, if the people had not been driven away, she should have been queen over Israel. She would have been a good queen, right? A queen who did good things. Because this was a humble woman, a small woman. No one who didn't make a whole lot of herself. But she wasn't queen, was she? Joseph didn't have a throne unless he built it for somebody else. These are humbled people living brokenly, while other people sit on their thrones. They know their family tree. They know where they should have been. And they know that the systems of the world are all of them broken. Because it's all run by people who grab presents from children. Because that's all of us. All of us seeking me and mine and wanting my way, wanting my good, and I've got to establish my good and protect myself and protect my family and protect my 90%. I need to make sure that That's the world we live in. And don't get me wrong, it's not like if you're poor you escaped that. Because the poor want their good life too. It's all a mess. And what Mary is saying here is that this storyteller, this one who becomes the great story, has come to show a different world, a whole different way. I think so. Let me leave you with how weird that is for just a minute, and maybe we can understand that better if we listen to this one who was in her womb at the time tell one of his stories. It's one of my favorites. It's become even more favorite as I've studied it this week. It begins like this. The kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning and hired laborers for his vineyard. So off he goes. He's got a job that needs doing. He needs to get it done. So what does he do? Well, he goes out and he goes to the place where people who are day laborers hang out. The place where people who are not craftsmen and they're not scholars and they don't have jobs already, but every day they wait. And someone comes and says, "You got a strong back, come on, I got work for you to do." So he goes and he finds this group of people standing there early in the morning. And he says, "Folks, I got work for you in my vineyard. I want you to come. I want you to go into my vineyard and do the work. I'll give you a denarius at the end of a day." Denarius is a fair price. It's a day's wage. So off they agree to it. They climb into his pickup, and off they go. Right? Now, after agreeing with the laborers for a denarius, he sent them into the vineyard. And then, after going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, you go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right, I will give you. Okay, so they went. Now that's weird. Already the story is weird. Because he went in the morning, he got the workers he needed. He doesn't need any more workers. The job's done. He's got people working out in the vineyard. But at the third hour, he goes out and he finds more people. Why on earth is he doing that? Well, and to make matters stranger, this guy apparently cannot stay at home. Because going out at about the 6th hour and about the 9th hour, he did the same thing. How is he doing that? Well, let's move on. And about the 11th hour. So you got a 12-hour workday there. This would not fly in America, right? But at about the 11th hour, you got a 12-hour work. So how many hours are left? 1 hour. He found others standing, and he said to them, why are you standing here idle? It is because of that question that I say his work was done with the first group. He didn't do this because he needed more help. He's looking at people. He's looking for the workers for the sake of the workers. He's like, you need work. Why are you standing here idle all day? And they said, because no one has hired us. Now, if that's true, what kind of workers do you suppose these guys are? Are they the ones with the strong backs? Are they the ones with the obvious skills? Are they ones with tool belts? No, these are probably people who have a crutch, who have a disability, who aren't worth hiring. And this man says, no, you go into the vineyard too. You also are worth something. You also have value. You that nobody wanted. I want you. I want you no matter what's wrong here, no matter what's broken in you, I want you. Go into the vineyard too. And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to the foreman, call me the laborers and I'll pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first. Why is he doing that? Well, everybody's going to see what he's paying, right? And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. A whole day's pay for an hour's work. Now, why does he do that? What value system drives a person to do that? What on earth would a person be thinking who says, I'm going to pay you for an entire day even though you only worked an hour? That's a person who says, you never work more than an hour, do you? You are desperate, aren't you? Nobody hires you, do they? Well, I hired you, and I care about you, and you matter. And I know that you're hungry and that your children are hungry, and I'm going to care for you because I love. That's the kind of man I am. I love. And so let me help you. You who are hurting, you who are lonely, you who are despairing and think your life can't ever be good. Come to me. Come work for me, and your life will be good. I will take care of you. I will love you. That's who this man is. It's why he goes out again and again and again. He's not looking to get the work done. He's looking for the people. He's looking to care for the people. Now, when those who were hired first came, they thought they'd receive more. What kind of value system is that? They thought they received more, but each of them also received a denarius, and on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, these last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat. I guarantee you, those workers would have taken a present away from a child. You see, they're not looking at the person who came in late and realized you also have to eat. And no one has hired you. And maybe nobody hired you yesterday or the day before either. They don't look at that person. They're looking at me and mine. And yet, let's be honest, don't you agree with them? And every time I read this parable, I go, unfair, man. If that was me and I'd done all that work, I would be so mad that suddenly my work didn't matter. Their hourly rate and mine is not the same. I did 12 hours, they did 1. It's not fair. He's confronting that value system. He's saying, no, don't you look out for yourself. It's not why you were created. It's not why you were made. You weren't made to look at another person and say, I look down on you, lift me up, I got to lift me up. No. You should have the heart of that guy who employed you, who hired you and loved those people, and you ought to love them too. Who cares about fair? Let's care about love. Everyone should matter to you the way it matters to him. The broken, the hungry, the tired, the excluded, the unlovely and the unlovable. So what? Love them. But they can't. And honestly, I don't want to either. That's why I don't mind getting confronted by this. I need this story to rebuke my selfishness. I need it. And I especially need what this great, great man says next. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll skip that. This is the value system of humanity. Me and mine. Well, listen to what this guy says. He replied to them, friend, I'm doing you no wrong. The love of God hurts no one. Now, it's experienced painfully. We hurt when we hear, what do you mean I'm not allowed to look out for my own? That doesn't feel good. What do you mean I have to lay down my life? What do you mean I have to take up the cross? I don't want to do that. I want to be first, not last. In America, we all want to be first. The call is to set yourself down, to head to the back of the line, knowing that God will glorify those that do it. I don't want to do it. I'm doing you no harm by telling you to do this. It will not hurt your life if you do this. He says, did you not agree with me to work for a denarius? You know, this was the agreement. So I haven't hurt you at all. You got what you expected. You've been blessed. You have a good life. Stop hating those who I also blessed. He says, take what belongs to you and go. And if that does not frighten you, you aren't paying attention. Because what is being told to this worker is, you got yours. You demand yours, you got it. Now go away from me. And how many times is that worker going to get hired again? So you see this in Jesus' parables a lot. This is exile. Those who cling to the value of me and mine are alien to this man. They have made themselves his enemy. And it's very hard to become an enemy of such a good man. But they've managed to do it with their bitterness of heart and their hatred of their fellow workers and the way that they despised and were selfish. And he says, take it and go and goodbye. And that's hell. Because the broken value systems of fallen humanity will lead us to hell. Value system results in being alienated from this good man, being sent away, being pushed out. You don't want it. You don't want the world's value system. He says, I choose to give to this last worker as I gave to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? And right there, do you begrudge my generosity is the heart of the values challenge. Is the very center of it. Because our values in our broken world say, I must value me. If I don't look out for number one, who's gonna? And the value system in the kingdom says, God is saying to you, I will. I will be generous. But if you hate my generosity, if you despise my kindness, if you do not learn to love as I love, if you won't be like me, then you will break yourself against me. Turn and love my generosity. Don't despise it. Become like me. Learn kindness and mercy and goodness and be fully alive. Or die. That's what the Lord has put in front of us. It's important to realize that this man in this story is out searching. He's out looking for the people. He's a search and rescue boss. He's not doing this to get his vineyard done. He got that taken care of in the first hour of the day. He's doing this because he loves and cares about you. And honestly, if we want to inhabit this parable, if we really want to put ourselves in it, where do we put ourselves? Well, our broken part of our hearts puts ourselves in the first group of people. But the true analysis of ourselves, we have to realize that we are 11th hour people. That He has come and He has found us standing around, unwanted and broken, because in the heavens we have committed ourselves to sin and to death, and we are that group. He has been merciful and good to us. He has come and He has found us with our hands out saying, please take me. Don't forget me. I'm here. Don't leave me behind. I want to go with you. Can I please join with you in what you're doing? Please take me. I'm standing here in the emptiness and brokenness of my life, and I'm making a mess of it, but I know that if you will take me, I'll have something worth having. So please, ignore this sign. It says you can't take me, but take me anyway, please. I know the sun's going down. I know the work is almost done, but please, save me. That's where we are. And this parable encourages us to look at that man who would save us. And then look at those people who would despise us and say, I don't want that value system, I want His. I don't want to be like them, I want to be like Him. I want to follow Him. In the new kingdom, we realize that there are no worthless people, because all people have value, all people have worth. Even me, even a sinner like me, but also even them, even someone that I would despise and look at and say, no, I don't want you in my world, I don't want you in my life. No, them too. We're all 11th hour people. And He's been gracious and kind to all of us. And so this, at the very beginning, when this babe is being born, who will come with such amazing stories and cast us into such a new way of thinking, at the very beginning, the challenge is put in front of us. He's going to come and challenge the ways of this world. He's going to tear down the things that we thought were so important. Power and prestige and money and comfort and security. He's going to tear those things down. He tears down the thrones. He pulls the mighty off. But it's worth realizing He doesn't do that for their harm. Being in that place of prestige and power and privilege is bad for you. It pulls you away from love. It's good for our bellies to be empty every once in a while. And when God comes and leaves the rich empty, it's so that they can learn to love. He's interested in the salvation of all of us. And we're rescued from these kinds of things. That's what this song is about. That's what the whole story is about. Is becoming a new and different kind of person. Don't you want to? Don't you want to escape from that value set and take on this one? Wouldn't your life be better if you did? If you loved self-givingly as your go-to place? See, that's what discipleship to Jesus is about. It's about learning to do that. And it grows up inside of us as this set of values is done away with, and this new set of values increases and grows, and we change and we become more and more and more like Him. So as we close, I ask you, what's most important to you? Is it the kind of thing that might drive you to selfishness? You probably aren't going to steal a gift out of the hands of a babe, right? You're unlikely to do that, right? Right? Thank you. But is that alive in your heart? Are you likely to become the gift that God gives to somebody else and changes their life? There are two values in front of you. This morning, you've seen them. You've seen the ones who look down on others and say, me first, mine, I want my way. Why am I not more important? You've seen that. And you've seen this man, this beautiful, wonderful man in this story, who is, of course, God. Being beautiful and good like He always is. Isn't He better? If you look into your heart this morning and you know that this process is going on, but maybe it's not where you ought to be. And you want people to pray for you because you want to change. You know that in some relationship or some set of circumstances, your values are way out of whack. Well, let us know. This is a praying church, and we absolutely will pray for you. It may be that you came into this building with something sitting on your heart that's heavy, and it hurts, and it's got nothing to do with what I talked about, but you want the prayers of the saints. Well, let us do it. And if you're not a Christian this morning, have I not put in front of you a beautiful way of life? It was put in front of us by a beautiful man. And following Him is the best way of life that there is, and it's the only one that lasts forever. If this morning you're subject to the invitation of God, there's room right here. Why don't you come while we stand and sing?
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord.